Hi ladies, I'm Rebecca, the founder of the Female Entrepreneurs Network, and welcome to the show. Here you're going to find badass human beings, creatives, adventurous people and massive action takers. If you need any more support or love, head over to the femaleentrepreneurssnetwork.com to find everything that you could ever possibly need. Always remember to speak your truth, be who you are, because you are always enough. And there is someone out there who needs to hear your message today. Enjoy this episode, and if you love us, share us with your mates. I love you all, Rebecca. Okay, welcome Veronica. I'm so excited to welcome you onto our show and introduce you to our community. So as I promised, for those listening to the podcast, you're not going to be able to see my hand fluttering in the sky as if I've got stars above me. But Veronica is a multi-passionate entrepreneur. She runs 2 businesses, which I'm really excited to explore with you today. She helps female entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs.
Both female and male. I just help entrepreneurs in general.
Entrepreneurs, firstly, running systems in their business, and secondly, teaching beginners how to learn kink and BDSM. So before we jump in, do you want to just tell me what does BDSM stand for, just in case it's just me that doesn't understand what it is?
No, it's not just you. BDSM is like a catch-all phrase for a subset practice in the kink world. So in life, I guess to make it easy, and I'm just using hand gestures that nobody can see, it's like imagine drawing a line down the middle, and you have people who are kinky and then people who are non-kinky. And the line between being kinky and non-kinky is actually pretty subjective and personal, because to me, the definition of kink is exploring, embracing, and just understanding your sexuality in a way that goes against the grain of what society expects from you. So what may be really, really kinky for me might just be something you do every Tuesday, Rebecca, right? Could be your Tuesday nights, but something that I've just never thought I could do or tried once and it's too much for me, right? So, and BDSM is a subset of that, which stands for bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, and sadism and masochism. But given that BDSM and the kink world is like the wild, wild west where anything goes in a way, people attribute different definitions and meanings to what it means to be kinky. And sometimes they'll use BDSM when you mean kink, but as an educator, I tried to separate everything to make sure that everything has a nice little box for people to explore, because they're first timers in this world and want to make sure they have a good grip on what the boundaries are and what everything is.
Yeah, I tried introducing Massage Mondays, but it wasn't very consistent. Okay, so I'm so excited to welcome you onto the podcast then. So let's start then. We'll get into the kind of more about the businesses soon. I just wanted to cover that just in case it was me that was thinking, what does that mean now? But where did it all start for you? Because I know we've chatted about this before and I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So let's start right at the beginning. Where did your entrepreneurial journey start?
I think I've been entrepreneurial my whole life. I had the lemonade stand. And I just realized that as a kid, no matter where I went, I was always, like, even at the grocery store, I was looking at ways to improve things, or pushing a shopping cart. And I'm like, this shopping cart is not functional. This doesn't work well. And of course, I didn't use the word functional at the time, but like, there's got to be a better way to have a shopping cart. And so I think I've always been entrepreneurial in that sense. But I really didn't start to explore it until I was in university. So I went to Stanford and I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug, because it's like Stanford is like the gateway to a lot of the startup companies like Facebook, Google, not startups, but the tech companies, and Uber, all the big names that we know about. And so I got bit by it and I'm like, oh, this is really, really a thing. So that's how I truly got started, was just immersing myself in classes and with other people and other organizations in the university, so that I could really see if this is something for me.
Wow, Stanford, that definitely rings a bell. I've definitely heard about that in a few of the entrepreneurial books that I've read before, of like people's stories and where they begin. And yeah, that's so amazing. So do you think like there was a specific time where you was like, oh, I need to set up this business and help people do this? Like, was there a pivoting point?
You know, my entrepreneurial journey started in university. And while the first job I had outside of university was my own design firm, in a sense, I don't think I really found my calling until maybe about 3 years ago. So, or actually, let's say, okay, so going back from university, I would say not until about 2015, 2016 was when I found my true calling. And the reason why I said that is because I didn't think entrepreneurship was for me, because there's been a lot of times in my family where, coming from a traditionally Chinese background, they would be like, this is not the career you need to choose. You need to choose something that's safe, that's predictable, like being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an engineer. And so I had a lot of that nagging voice in my head. So I didn't fully let myself step into it until I got laid off from my 9 to 5 corporate job being a pseudo engineer. I was a product manager and also like a product design experience person. So there's engineering facts to that. So I got laid off from an engineering position, and I was like, how do I make the most of my time? I'm laid off, I'm looking for another job, but at the same time something's missing. So then I found B school like
Oh, yes.
3 days before enrollment closed. And so B school is Marie Forleo's baby, and this was like my gateway into the online entrepreneurship realm. Like, I wish my school would have taught this type of class, that entrepreneurship is more than just that startup life where if you're not working 20 hours a day, you're not good enough to be an entrepreneur. Or if you're not asking for lots of funding, even though you're asking the lesser of the two evils for money, you're not a true entrepreneur. And so I'm like, it just never clicked with me, even though I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. That hustle, crazy, grinding startup life that's worn like a badge of honor just never resonated with me.
Completely get that, completely. And like when you're on about working 20 hours a day, I remember when I had my last business, and like I had such big growth plans for that business. Like I was on the biggest growth accelerator in the world. I'd won business awards, I was doing amazing things. And like I had this belief that firstly, like you had to work all hours possible to be a success, whatever success meant. Like I didn't really have a definition for it back then. So I would go to work during the day, run my business in my office, have my assistant and my team in my office, and then I'd go to a shop, get a sandwich and eat it on the way to my night job, sleep 4 hours, do it all over again, and I'd have Sunday afternoon off. How
Yeah,
crazy is that? Like, and
I've been there.
yeah, but it's crazy, isn't it? Like the things that we do to ourselves. And not only that, but with this funding thing and like the hustle and grind and it's just crap, isn't it? Like I've proper felt like that. And I remember I'd wake up in the morning and I'd think, oh, I feel exhausted, but it's good because it means that I've worked really hard. So although my bones ache and I feel exhausted and I'm knackered and I'm like not enjoying myself during the day because I'm so tired, it's good because that means that I've been grinding, I've been hustling. So that must mean that I'm going to be a success. Oh.
Well, it's interesting because the online world, the online entrepreneurial world, glamorizes the idea of working smarter a lot. Like, oh, working hard, grinding, hustling, those are bad words. You can't be doing any of that. And I'm like, you're here to run a business. There, and especially if you're starting a new business, unless you've got connections who give you millions of dollars and network you to like whoever, it's like you're going to be grinding, you're going to be hustling, you're going to be working hard. But at the same time, those things are needed, but are you also working smart? Because working smart takes a lot of hard work because we're so used to doing the same thing over and over again. And even though there may be a more efficient or smarter way, if we don't know about it, we're not going to be made aware of it. So it's like that love-hate thing. Like, you shouldn't be grinding, but yet sometimes, let's just be honest, we all have to grind. We all have to work hard. Sometimes we just don't want to do it, but we wake up, just bite the bullet and do it anyways.
So this is where Veronica comes in with her systems, right?
Yes,
And
I would say systems does mitigate a lot of the grinding, but then of course no system is necessarily perfect. Like no system will ever save you from, like, say, a lazy, unmotivated personality. And we all are lazy all the time, or half the time, or some of the time, but it's just human nature.
So, okay, I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay, great. I love it.
Because I've got some great NLP techniques that will help you with procrastination.
Perfect.
So I've got this, it's called anchoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've anchored on this, and I first did it to myself 3 years ago, and I have never procrastinated since, ever. Honestly, I'm not even joking. Like, and literally you just stack the wanted emotions like motivation and confidence and, action. And then you literally just press your knuckle. It sounds so crazy, but it works. And like, I have not procrastinated since.
Hey, that's great. And I love being challenged, because what's really great is that we're all different people. Things that cause me to procrastinate may not be things that cause you to procrastinate.
So
but
true.
The most important thing is to be self-aware and to also find out how to problem solve. Like, I know when I'm reaching for food and I'm not hungry, I'm procrastinating. And that means that there's something in my task that is either causing me to not want to do it, I don't have enough information, or things like that. Or maybe I just am tired, right? So there's lots of different things in terms of systems that require you to be self-aware, because you're creating systems to align and honor with your personality. So if you're not honest with yourself, no matter how elegant and tier worthy of a solution I may give you, like, I deserve an Oscar for this. If you're not excited or inspired to use that system, and I call it, if it doesn't feel orgasmic to you, then you're not going to use the system. You're just going to go find something else.
I love it. I love how you like mix both businesses together. So talk to us then about how the businesses kind of coincide and how they mix.
I love this part of my conversation, because it's all about freedom, right? That's my core value in life, is to constantly feel free. And the fact that I can show up as 100% me in both my businesses, I can show up as kink positive, punny, sarcastic if I want to, witty, all the double entendres in the world. And it still works because I'm being authentic to myself. So even if I'm talking about systems, I use a lot of puns. I use a lot of words that actually would apply to your business. So like, if you're feeling like if you're feeling tied down, for instance, in your business, there are systems that can help you feel free. And then on the other hand, in my other kinky business, I'm talking about how to tie somebody down, or what it's like to be tied down. So it works. But what's really great about both businesses is that, one, they honor who I am. It's like left brain versus right brain kind of thing. But at the same time, it's like one business feeds into the other and vice versa, both not only for myself, but for the people that find me via each business. So like, a lot of the entrepreneurs I work with, they'll be like, so I know you do this business, but I also know you do the kink business. I was wondering if I can ask you some questions about that. And I love these questions because I'm all about helping people explore kink in a really, really empowered, non-judgmental, shame-free way. And especially for strong women like us, exploring these types of fantasies and roles, whether or not it's permanent or temporary, is very hard, because there's a lot of stigma and shame and stereotypes and self-embarrassment that go into this.
Yeah, I suppose it's quite a confidence thing as well.
Absolutely. And if you don't feel confident exploring, it's never going to be a good experience. And just like if you don't feel confident with your systems, you're not going to feel confident growing your business, finding new clients, all the good things that happen. And then on the flip side, a lot of my kinky audiences and customers are like, hey, so I know you have a business teaching other people how to start businesses. At least that's how they see it. So systems to them is just organization. They're like, I was thinking of starting a business doing XYZ, but I'm not sure because I have zero business experience. And so then I'm like, here, let me give you some resources from the business laid bare side. So it's a really beautiful exchange for both sides.
It's so amazing as well how you name the businesses. So just for everyone listening, what are the businesses called?
So systems are business laid bare, and the kink side is desires laid bare. And laid bare to me is a very, very personal phrase and meaning. Essentially, it means to be authentic to yourself. But authenticity is such a buzzword that everybody uses. But for me, to be laid bare means to strip away all the expectations, the guilt, the beliefs that other people have laid upon you so that you may explore life, business, kink, according to who you are. Like if somebody has piled so many layers of things onto you, you've lost yourself. You might not be exploring something to its fullest potential, which is you, because it's so biased to how you've been raised or your culture, your society. So to be laid bare means you get to do business your way, and desires laid bare means pleasure your way.
I love it. I love it so much. And yeah, I completely love the name. And I think it's so true what you say about like people's stuff being pushed upon you. Like I say it all the time about like we all have our own beliefs and our own values. And when we grow up, our parents push, well, because they bring us up, I'm always really careful about what I say to my children. But I'm sure that there's beliefs and my own values that I'm pushing on them because I think that's what's right. So from my version of the world, I'm just pushing my beliefs and values upon them. And then when they go to school, that'll happen from the teachers. And it just continues to happen, doesn't it, from everyone that we're surrounded with until we get to a point and we're like, oh, who am I? Like,
Exactly.
who am I? Yes, I think it's so needed. And thank you for doing the work that you're doing because I think it's just incredible and you're incredible.
Oh, thank you. And I think it's a very personal journey because I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Mm.
I remember in university that I told my professor because he wanted me to practice pitching in front of investors, even though I really had no product. But it was just like, if you can stand a 60 seconds in front of these people who have so much money, who are going to be so critical of you, because they are supposed to be the ones giving you money, you'll do anything, right? This is going to toughen up your skin. And I was like, don't worry. If there are 10 investors out there, I can change myself 10 different ways to appease them. And I thought that was something to be proud of. And then I realized that by changing myself 10 different ways, I've lost who I was. I don't remember who I was anymore. I was just, so long as I can change myself to adapt to make other people happy, I was the one that suffered at the end.
Oh my God, that's so true. Yeah, that's just like proper struck a chord.
Oh,
It's so true. Yeah, so talk to us then about, so what happened then was you kind of started out your journey, you went to Stanford, you found the entrepreneurial side of yourself, you kind of caught that bug. So what happened then? When did you start the first business?
so I started the first business as kind of something just to try out on the side in probably 2016. And then 50 Shades of Grey came out. And 50 Shades of Grey is the mainstream franchise for dominance and submission. I think most people know what that is, but it's like, that's when I realized I was a multi-passion entrepreneur, because when I saw that movie was doing so well, and I had read the books prior because I'm always of the belief that, hey, this is something that I'm so intimately involved with. Let's see what other people's opinions are.
Mm-hmm.
And not to bash on this franchise whatsoever, but it is a completely incorrect and abusive way to look at BDSM and kink and dominance and submission especially. It's very abuse centered, and so I won't go into too much of that, but I've done my analysis and I've talked to other people, and so this is the common consensus. And then I'm like, if this franchise could make $125 million opening weekend on the first movie, it means that this is something that people want. This hot fantasy, this idea of exploring this kind of power exchange is something that I can capitalize on, especially because I live this lifestyle 24/7. And I would like to say in a very, very healthy and empowered manner, because my partner and I, even though we are master and slave, I'm the slave because I'm wearing the collar, we have the mindset of CEO and COO. I'm not a doormat. I'm not somebody to be pushed around. That's how much my partner respects me. But the master slave part comes in is because I trust him to lead the relationship. He has the vision, like the CEO, and I have the operational, systematic, linear thinking brain to make the things happen. So I was like, I'm exploring the systems business, but at the same time, I really, really want to explore this kink business because if they can do it and I'm passionate about kink, I should be able to start a kink business too. And then that's where things kind of went wrong for me, because the gurus told me that I need to only focus on one business, because if you're focusing on many things, nothing is a priority. So then I'm like, okay, fine. Then I spent the rest of 2016 exploring the systems business, and then I kind of put that away because I'm like, okay, it's 2017. I'm going to explore the other business. But yet the funny thing is that anytime I was exploring one business, like for systems, I would be like, they would ask me if I could go on podcasts to interview about kink, but I'm like, I can't do that. So then I was like, okay, that's fine. Let's find a way to do this. And then when I'm exploring the kink side in 2017, I would get like interview requests and all that stuff for the system side. I'm like, this sucks. And so I'm like, I can't just explore one business 1 year and put it away for another year while I'm doing the other one. So in 2018, I was like, okay, fuck this. I literally said that. So excuse my language.
I can imagine.
I'm going to do both. Fuck what everybody says. This feels right. And I know that I have the discipline, the vision, and the systems to be able to explore both in a way that feels good and also without burning out. So since September of 2018, I've been focusing on both businesses simultaneously. And when one business gets more attention than the other, it's a dynamic shift. Sometimes I'll focus 80% on the system side. Sometimes I'll be 20% on the kink side. And sometimes the next month it'd be flipped. Right? It's very, very dynamic and fluid. And to no one's surprise, both businesses are making money quicker and growing quicker with more ease. And not just because I have two businesses contributing to the income. It's literally how I'm able to present myself and work in my zone of geniuses. So that's my case. It's not for everybody though, because being multi-passionate is hard.
Yeah, I completely agree with you as well. And there's two things I think came up for me then. The first one was the multi-passionate thing. I completely agree with you. Like, as a creative entrepreneur and creative person, like, it's so hard to try and just focus on one thing because it gets boring as well. Like, as much as I love my business, I can't just work on the same project all the time. And I think I read the book by Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic. Have you read that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And it was reading that I was like, oh my God, I can just do all the things that I love and be as creative as I want, and it will be okay. So that was a really good permission slip, I felt like it was.
Yes.
And then secondly, about like following the gurus and doing what the gurus say and do. Like, I literally had a conversation with a couple of people this week who have told me that they've been following what the gurus have said and it's not working, and now frustrated and they're closing the business. And I think we can get so caught up and lose ourselves, like what you were saying about, having all these layers, and take action from a place that's not authentic or bare. And we can end up in some place that we've got no idea what or why or how we even got there. So it's so important to like check in with ourselves, isn't it? And just completely be our authentic selves. So what would you say then has been your biggest challenge in your entrepreneurial journey? I know we spoke about like multi-passionate thing, but has there been anything else that's cropped up for you?
I think the biggest thing is to stay true to myself. That, even though is my mission, it is also something of a big challenge, because you don't see many people like this, and you don't see many people starting multiple businesses from the ground up at the same time. Generally, a lot of multi-passionate entrepreneurs are really successful in one venture, and that one allows them to keep going to feed the other one, right? So it's kind of like one's already got a head start. You're not bringing both up from the ground in a way. So the biggest challenge is to constantly check in with myself is this truly what I want to be doing? Am I on the right path? Am I being intuitive and listening to myself? Am I living by my core values? So everything that I do is surrounded by my 3 core values, which is freedom, joy, and ease, or rather alignment. Like, you just know when you're doing something and everything just works. It's like every time you're driving, every time you come to a stoplight, it's just always a green light, right? So that's ease to me, because it's just the universe telling me, hey, you're on the right path. So if things don't feel like I'm in ease, something's amiss. So, and it's really, really easy to be influenced by people who say like, hey, I made so-and-so dollars, or I was able to get connected with this high person in Forbes magazine, and so I did it this way. And I'm like, well, I'm doing it the exact opposite way. Does that mean that I shot myself in the foot, right? So it's constantly just quieting that inner gremlin, quieting the outside voices, and truly staying in my own lane. That is a challenge.
Yeah, but so needed, isn't it? So needed.
Yes.
What is your best business resource?
My best business resource is to find people who not only will accept you for who you are, but support you too. Like, entrepreneurship in general can be pretty lonely, especially if you're not surrounded by other entrepreneurs, or if your family member doesn't get why you're doing what you're doing and why you're so passionate about this. It's like, and I'm always somebody that can overthink things. Like, I can have an idea and just think about it for a long time and not make any progress. So analysis paralysis is something I suffer from. I banded together with my 5 really, really good friends. We're all entrepreneurs in our own way. One's an intuitive healer coach. One's a potter. One's a marketer. One's a social media marketer. One's a designer. And then I have the systems and kink side. And it's like we all banded together. We created a Slack channel. I called it, instead of a mastermind, more like a gangbang, because it's true to who I am. And all of my friends are sex positive. So they were like, yes, we're gangbanging to entrepreneurial success. And this group has been invaluable. Like, I have an idea and I think it's like a really, really great idea. And then they'll be like, no, Veronica, it's a terrible idea. And here's why. You're already focused on this. You're already doing this. Why are you adding another thing to your plate? I'm like, because I thought about it in the shower and it sounded really good at the time. Or I have an idea and I think it's really, really great. Can you see where I'm missing things? And they'll just chime in really quickly, right? So it's a very informal mastermind, because essentially it's like we opened a Slack channel. We have different channels inside that are our own. Like, we can whiteboard it. There's like things we talk about outside of work, business, like, because that's important too. And so it's like, we just chat. It's a really great resource to just bounce ideas off, to show that 1, you're not only alone, but 2, you can get the feedback you need pretty quickly, so that you're not spinning in circles figuring out if this is something you should pursue or not.
Yeah, that's so important. That's definitely been one of my, the best things that I've done, is connected with a couple of people who I'm really close with. Yeah, I love Slack as well. Oh my God. Do you know what? The only thing that Slack is missing is voice notes.
Yes, I've come to love voice notes so much. I didn't think I would, because I'm like, I wish I could read this, because I'm not always in a place to be able to listen. But voice notes, amazing. I can talk a lot in 1 minute. I didn't realize how much I could say in 1 minute.
I know, at the end I'm like,
oh yeah, and you see the counter ticking down, you're like, you have to talk faster.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, so what is the I asked you what your best business resource is. What is the top, like the best advice that you've ever been given?
The best advice: surround yourself, and here goes the community again. Surround yourself with people that you look up to, because Jim Rohn said you are the average of the 5 people you spend time with the most. And it doesn't have to be in person. So it's like, it really made me be very cognizant of who I wanted to spend time with. I'm like, do I want this person's essence melded into mine? Like, would I be proud to have this part of this person in me? And so it's like, by surrounding myself around the people that I want to be around, it has definitely changed my group of friends. Like, no longer am I okay or tolerant of people who are toxic, negative. And I'm not saying I'm just like this happy-go-lucky ray of sunshine, but like there's a difference between just complaining and being toxic and negative than saying, hey, I'm in a really, really shitty situation, but this is my action plan for at least working my way towards fixing it. Right? So I can't stand being around victims anymore. And I was the victim once. And it took a lot of crying and hard work to get over that mentality. But I would say I have been able to do so. So that would be my best advice. You are the average of the 5 people you spend your time around most. So choose wisely.
Yeah, so true. And yeah, I completely understand what you mean about the victim mentality. And I always used to think like things happened to me, like I was out, it wasn't within my control. But what I realized now is that, you know, I have complete control over what happens to me and how I react to what happens to me. One of the things I just thought then was like, when shit's going on, like I think, what do I need to learn here? Like, what is the lesson? What is the lesson that I need to learn? And if something keeps coming up, I'm like, oh God, what did I not learn that I need to now learn? Why is this coming back? And I think it's so the case. Yeah. Okay. So is there anything that I've not asked you that you'd like to add today before we finish?
Oh, that is hard. That is a hard question. Something that I don't really prepare for, but I seem to ask that question a lot myself. But I would say that we've covered quite a bit. I mean, there's so much more information. There's so much more about myself that I could share, but I'm all about being short and sweet where necessary. So how about this? I'll throw the question back at you. If people want to find out more about me, how can we make this happen? Both on the kink side and on the system side.
So obviously people can go and read the book. Yay.
I'm so excited. Like, to say I get to be a published author, that just makes me feel all sorts of confidence. So thank you.
Oh, you are incredible. And your story does not even start here, does it? Like, I can't wait for everyone to read the book. So the first place that they can go is your website. And what's the best place for them to go to find out more about both sides of the business for the website?
I'll make it easy. I'll just have you go to veronicayahns.com, and we'll put the link in the show notes because my name is spelled funny. And from there, it's essentially it's a website about me. And then you'll be like, okay, you can decide to go explore the kink side or the BDSM side. So it's just a cohesive entry point to helping people figure out who I am without giving them links for days.
Yes, completely. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. What is the last thing that you'd like to leave with our readers and listeners?
The last thing that I want. Well, I say this a lot, but be true to yourself. You are the only one that is out there in the world, and to sacrifice who you are because you think it might be wrong or you're too weird, you're not. So just stay confident and just be yourself unapologetically. You owe it to yourself to thrive unapologetically, exactly as you are. I mean, if you need permission, here's somebody who's showing up as her completely kinky self in both the business and non-business side. Like, imagine me having consultant clients that I talk about things like orgasms and being tied down or being a slave to your business in the negative way. It's like, if I can do it and still have people love me, and of course there's their fair share of people who despise me, which is great because creating polarity is perfect. I love it. It's like the kink filter is the greatest polarity thing ever. So just be true to yourself. Go forth and kick ass as yourself. And if you need somebody to talk to, you can always come to us and we'll give you that like tough love talk and cheer you on all the way.
Yay. Thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Don't forget to always speak your truth and be who you are, because there is someone out there today who needs to hear your message. If you need anything from us at all, head over to thefemaleentrepreneursnetwork.com and check us out. You'll find everything you could possibly need over there. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch you on the next episode.